Hello, here's Frau Lodel. You're going to be reviewing the present tense here. So the first thing I want you to do is fill in the endings for present tense verbs. So I'm going to have you pause your recorder and then we'll check in together. Hopefully you pause your recorder and then you filled out the table first. And if you didn't, here's another chance. The first thing you're going to write is E for ich. Usually the ending is E. The ending for do is st. The ending for er, z, and s when you're talking about one person or thing is just plain old t. For we, it is en. For ear, meaning hey, you guys, is t. And for they is en. And for you, when you're talking to a person, saying you are, Sie kommen aus Deutschland, Frau Lodel? Nein, nein, das stimmt nicht. So, it's going to be en. All right, pause the recorder again. And first of all, before you pause it, I want to give you the verbs. For the very first one, to be alive, you remember that it's ich lebe. For to do, not to make, is ich tue from the story. And for to remember is ich erinnere. So fill in the rest of your table and come back and check to see if you got it right after you filled it in. Willkommen! So if you were doing this, you got lebst, lebt, leben, and lebt. For tun, you got do tust, toot, tun, and toot. For erinnern, you got ich erinnere, erinnerst, erinnert, erinnern, and erinnert. Nice job. Now fill out the bottom and see if you can get the table or those sentences correct. Here we go. Pause your recording. Maybe you forgot some of the verbs like from the story, and since those are not the verbs that I used above, I was just using verbs, general verbs. So this from the story, the verb aufpassen is your first verb, and ausziehen is the next verb from the story. And to call is anrufen, which is also from the story. And to take off quickly, as in get out, is abhauen. These verbs are all separable, so hopefully remember that the prefix goes to the end of the sentence. So I'm going to highlight those prefixes go to the end. So this is a little double review. So pause your recording and see if you can write them with the correct endings, just that T, ST, what is going on in here. I'm going to pause the recording and you can fill in your term. Wonderful. Here's the finished sentence, finished product. So you can take a look and see if you got those sentences correct. Romea passt nicht auf. Julian zieht seine Hose nicht aus, which is not true. Zieht seine Hose aus. Romea ruft Cassandra an. Und Romea und Julian hauen schnell ab. So that's that portion. Now you're going to flip over to the back side. And we're going to look at some vowel changing verbs. The first one that we're going to look at is nehmen. Nehmen change is ich nehme. But it's du nimmst. Du nimmst. Und sie es nimmt. Wir nehmen und ihr nehmt. So I did that first one. You'll notice that the vowel changes where you have the do form and the sie es form. Go ahead and fill out the rest of the charts to see if you have them correct, and we'll check back in. Hopefully you also filled out the sentences that have to do with that to see if you were on track. You want to make sure that you have that. I think I forgot to write empfehlen for to recommend. So as you're filling that in, you have those ideas to think about. It's also very good practice to fill those in. Go ahead and fill in the next tables down here below and see how you're doing. First to catch, to run, and then I did put in all the forms of the verbs below for loslassen, anfangen, fallen, and gefallen. Gefallen means to please. So putting that together. So go ahead and fill those in and then come back when you're ready. A quick check-in. Did you get fange for catch and laufe for run? Pause the video and fill in the rest of the table as well as the sentences below. Okay, here you have the completed chart. Maybe you forgot that gefallen is a das gefällt mir, as a pleasing to someone. So when you're filling in that portion, Romea gefällt ihm. So you do need to have that M at the end. Of course, there's the other way to say it, mag Romea, but here we have Romea gefällt ihm. So that's a more advanced structure that you'll want to practice. You have Dr. Schock lässt Romea los, Julian fällt vom Himmel und die Geschichte fängt im Flugzeug an. You want to notice that in the ihr form, when you're saying you guys, you don't change anything. So at the top you have the changes where they occur, the changes in the do and the er, sie, and s form. That's standard for vowel changes. So a quick review of some essential verbs here on the back side. Fill in the chart. So these are verbs that you want to be familiar with and should be familiar with. So a good review. We have to have, which of course is haben. To become, which is werden. And to know, which is wissen. Down here, to be allowed is dürfen. Can and be able is können. Must and have to is müssen. Should is sollen. Want is wollen. So those are good to review. And you want to like, as in not to be pleasing to, is mögen. So a good one to have down. And would like to is möchte. These verbs are related. They are the same word, it's just different structures. So go ahead and fill in the chart and then come back to see if you did it correctly. Give you a chance to pause. So here you have that final chart of the verb forms. So you'll notice that I did some highlighting because those verbs are the same in both the he, she, and it form and the I form. So ich weiß, weiß. It was a tough one for me as a student too. I wanted to put a T at the end of weiß, but it's not with weiß, sie weiß. As you're moving down, you can check your answers. You'll notice these verbs, modal verbs, always have a second verb with them. Romea will mit Julian sein. Romea wants to be with Julian. And you could also say, Julian möchte etwas essen. Hat Hunger. So those are the forms to check in. If you have some questions on the present tense, be sure to ask. We're going to be working that. This is a present tense is one of the tenses that I want you to be able to tell the story in. So I want you to remember the forms, like you want to say he did this or I did this, if we're going to be telling it as if you were Julian or as if you were Romea, or talk about they. If you have any questions, please let me know.